Greetings everyone. In this video I'm going to talk about the role of women in the family and by extension in the world. I'm going to say, and I'm not sure if you agree, but I think one of the greatest job or role anyone could play is being a mother. And it doesn't have to be a biological mother, but providing guidance and sustenance for a young person who eventually will grow into an adult and then repeat that role is something that I'm going to say is most undervalued and unappreciated by many. So we're talking about the exception to the rule. Of course, there are people who love their mothers and men who appreciate women. But in general, it is one of those roles that many women play and many women feel underappreciated. And because women don't stick together like they should, they don't stick together like men do. Because listen, even men who are prejudiced, even men who will fight against other nation, if a man's right is being violated, all of these men will come together. It's all of these men who came together to determine everything you see happening in this world. And that's not to say that there are not a woman here and there in the midst, but it's men who make the most powerful decisions that affect us. But we are the ones who have to live with those decisions. And so you have a mother who, spent sleepless nights taking care of her children, not to mention carrying these kids for 9 months and giving birth to these kids. Let's not talk about that. Let's put that aside. And the woman often is made to feel like what she has to offer is never good enough. You'll hear a thank you, but it's so shallow. You will hear, I appreciate you. If you're blessed, if you're lucky, because there's some women who live their entire life suffering and struggling and leaving themselves on the backside of things. Always come last, eat last, first to rise, last to go to bed. All the ones who have to say, well, I need this thing, but the kids want something more. Hear what I said? The woman need. And because the kids want, they get their needs, their wants met. Same thing with partnership, they're in relationship. Now, when I do these videos, I'm not speaking about my experience alone. I'm talking about what I see. Because sometimes when you speak a certain way, people assume that's what you're going through at the time. It might not be what I'm going through right now, but it's been my experience to feel unappreciated. And so I want to use this as a backdrop to talk about the woman who was missing and was then found staying at a friend's yard. And when I hear her talking to her husband and to her daughter and the way they were talking to her, to me, I'm not going to be on any wagon here and try to judge the lady because there's her side. And I'm going to be honest with you, no one gets up and leave their comfortable home for no reason. And, I know that there is emotion involved when these individuals hear that she might have been staying somewhere and go there to find her. But you don't hear that compassion. You don't hear that love. You don't hear, oh my goodness, I'm happy, you're okay. I'm upset. Why didn't you tell us, or whatever. No one wants to hear her side of the story. The only thing I would say to that lady and every woman who feel like running away, just tell the police officers, report it to the station closest to you so that they're not using manpower or their limited resources to find you. But other than that, I have no problem with that lady running away from her home. Now, as a woman, I'm supposed to be always, beating the woman because some persons can't understand that there are some things that go on with women that, the men could never withstand. And that's why a lot of women have depression. A lot of women have mental disorders because they have to balance, life and pain and struggles and work and you name it. And they're expected to put a nice smile out there even when they're dying inside. If a woman comes out and say, I don't want no man, all of a sudden she's a monster for saying that. Wherein many women are thinking to themselves, what did I get myself into? So many women start out with all the right, motives for building a family and growing with their family. And, men can pick themselves up and leave the relationship and nobody sees them as a monster. But if the woman does that, oh my goodness, she's the worst. So we have to balance this thing and understand that the things that women have to deal with and cope with in life, I will repeat, men could not even take a fraction of that. But we are expected to be superheroes or heroines, and we are expected to be all loving and all forgiving. And when the woman decides that, what about me? When is it going to be my time to shine? When is it going to be my time to pursue the things that I want to do without looking like I'm this terrible person? I am evil, as the daughter says. I am not saying that, they weren't frightened and they didn't have some sleepless nights. But if you speak to that lady, I'm sure that many times her needs were taken for granted. Many times when she tried to reach out or even have a conversation with husband, he probably didn't have time for her. Sometimes women do these things. It's a cry for help. So he says, don't bother coming home. And the woman is saying, well, it's my house, so I can come home when I want to. The way they addressed her is an indication of two folks or two people in that family settings that, probably took her for granted. They expect her to always be there. And I'm sure if she complained about wanting more help from them or wanting more acknowledgement from either husband or child, they probably had no time for her. And now she ran away. And now she's a bad person. And I'm thinking every woman should have an opportunity at least once to run away from their family. Just go off somewhere, even if it's just one night at a hotel. It doesn't matter how loving and kind and beautiful your family is. Every woman needs time to herself. And if it sounds selfish, then, that's not my problem. There are women who stay home, they work from home. And while they're working from home, it seems as if they don't have a job except taking care of the home. Because when the husband or the children go to their job and they return home, most, not saying all, but most of them know that this is my evening to relax until it's time to go to work again. But the woman doesn't ever have that opportunity to say, well, I am working too, and therefore I should get this time for myself. There's no me time for the most part. And so this will cause women to feel, disillusioned or feel some kind of resentment. The role of the woman in the family is great. And people need to understand that when you see a woman snap, sometimes it's some things happening for years and she just suppressed that, and something simple happens, like someone leave a dirty plate in the sink and she snaps, and you're thinking, what is wrong with her? She's crazy. No, she's not. Those are built up emotions. So I'm going to encourage women to do self-care. Take care of yourself. Don't feel guilty when you need a break. And if you feel like you need to get away from home and you need to run away from the family for whatever reason, just let the authorities know that you're okay. Sometimes that's the wake-up call the family needs, to stop taking the woman for granted. That's the wake-up call sometimes. Even when you're calling sick and you don't go to work, people don't appreciate you on your job, even though they say you're valuable. Woman, we have it really hard, and I wish we would stick together and have more empathy and sympathy for each other. Because right now you got all kinds of people saying, "Oh, she went away with man," and all these things, even though they're going through the same thing. Anyway, everybody, that's it on the topic right now. I'm laughing when I saw the woman relaxing. I'm like, good for you, woman. You needed the break. You took that break. Only thing I'm saying is you should have notified the police officers. But at the end of the day, she did what was best for her. Sometimes as women, we have to do what is best for us and stop feeling sorry for kids, ungrateful kids, and sometimes ungrateful men. You know, that was my past. My experience is different now, but that doesn't change the fact that someone else is going through the same thing. Not because I'm not going through it, I don't recognize what other women are going through. Stay blessed, everybody. You know, have a wonderful Sunday.